The dust, a fine, ochre powder, swirled around the desolate ranch near Tombstone, a silent testament to unrelenting sun and scarce rain. It clung to everything: the weathered wood, the parched ground, and most profoundly, the young woman rigid beside her father. Her name was Sarah, and today, a day devoid of happiness or joy, she was a bride, though no wedding bells chimed, and no celebratory feast awaited. Her simple dress felt like a shroud, her wide, unblinking gaze fixed on the imposing Comanche warrior, whose presence filled the oppressive silence with unspoken power. He stood tall, unwavering, his eyes holding a depth that both fascinated and terrified her. This was the man to whom she was delivered, not by choice, but by a pact. This was no union of love, no hopeful beginning, but an unyielding bargain struck in desperation. Her father, broken by the harsh frontier, had made a promise, an unthinkable sacrifice for their meager existence. To truly comprehend the agonizing layers of this decision, to unravel how this singular, desperate pact sealed her life's course, one must embark on a deeper exploration of the tumultuous journey ahead. This was merely the overture. The true symphony of her fate had only just begun to play. Years before the fateful delivery, a different kind of silence had fallen over John's ranch, not one of peace, but of profound desolation. The once vibrant plains surrounding Tombstone had withered under the relentless grip of an unyielding drought, baking the earth into a cracked, unforgiving canvas. Dust devils danced mockingly across fields where lush grass once swayed. Now only brittle stalks remained. John, a widower whose weathered hands had long toiled to coax life from the unforgiving land, watched his meager herd dwindle day by agonizing day. Each gaunt steer was a painful reminder of his evaporating future, a symbol of the dwindling wealth he desperately tried to protect for his only daughter, Sarah. The threat wasn't solely from the parched earth. Whispers of ruthless bandit gangs, emboldened by the widespread hardship, reached his isolated home, making every sunset a dread-filled harbinger of potential violence. He was trapped between nature's wrath and man's cruelty, a father struggling against impossible odds to preserve what little joy remained in his life, and to secure any semblance of happiness for the child who was his entire world. His nights were sleepless, consumed by the agonizing calculus of survival. He had exhausted every conventional solution, every last drop of his personal reserves, both physical and financial. It was during these dark, despairing hours that the unimaginable began to take root in his mind. The local Comanche tribe, though often viewed with suspicion by the scattered settlers, held a deep, ancestral wisdom about living off this land, understanding its rhythms and its secrets in ways John could only dream of. A desperate, almost sacrilegious idea formed, driven by the primal need to protect Sarah, her innocence, and her very life. He knew the cost would be immense, a sacrifice that would haunt his conscience, but he saw no other path to salvation. This pact, born of pure necessity, was for him the ultimate gamble, a desperate plead of fate, a choice made not with a light heart, but with the heavy, unshakable resolve of a father who would give anything, absolutely anything, to ensure his daughter's survival and a chance at a life he hoped would one day be filled with true happiness, even if his own joy was irrevocably diminished by the very act. He sought a path, however unconventional, that might safeguard his remaining cattle and, more crucially, the future of the daughter who was his greatest treasure, a decision born from a raw, primal wisdom he hadn't known he possessed. Sarah was not like other young women on the frontier. Her mind soared beyond the dusty plains, carried by the worn pages of the books she loved. Her father, John, a man of quiet wisdom, had fostered this curiosity, seeing in her a reflection of his late wife's spirit. These books were her precious windows to worlds brimming with possibilities, promising a future of personal happiness and true intellectual wealth, far removed from the harsh realities of their isolated ranch near Tombstone. She dreamt of a life where her own choices would define her path, where the simple joy of discovery would be her constant companion. But now, that cherished vision lay irrevocably shattered, splintered by the crushing weight of her father's desperate promise. The very foundation of her youthful existence, built on quiet dreams and boundless imagination, had been abruptly undermined. She felt an invisible net tightening around her, pulling her away from the life she had so carefully envisioned. The profound love she bore for her father became a cruel paradox. It was this love that inexorably bound her to a fate she never would have chosen, a destiny that threatened to strip away her individuality and the very essence of what made her Sarah. Every new day dawned with a fresh wave of quiet dread, a chilling reminder of the irreversible course her life was now set upon. Her days transformed into a relentless internal battle. On one side stood the stark reality of the impending marriage, the overwhelming sense of loss for the autonomy she once believed was hers. On the other, a fierce, quiet defiance simmered just beneath the surface, a stubborn refusal to surrender to the creeping resignation that gnawed at her hopeful spirit. His acceptance was a silent pledge to his ancestors and to the generations yet to come, a commitment to a better, more peaceful existence for all. The days following the pact brought a strange, heavy stillness to Sarah's world. Soon enough, the first formal meetings between her and Lotus Black began, sometimes on neutral ground, sometimes within the edges of the Comanche encampment, always with observers. These encounters were not the romanticized unions from her beloved books, nor the terrifying scenes her worst nightmares had conjured. Instead, they were overwhelmingly awkward, a palpable sense of two strangers from different worlds being pushed together by an invisible, unyielding force. Each meeting was a landscape of profound, uncomfortable silences, stretching between them like an arid desert. Sarah would offer a tentative smile, a gesture of goodwill born more from a desperate hope for normalcy than from genuine happiness. The cultural divide was not merely physical distance. It was a spiritual gulf, a complete absence of shared experiences or understanding that made genuine connection seem like an impossible dream. Yet, the agreement stood, a binding force propelling them forward, whether they were ready or not. A profound wisdom would be needed for this journey, a wisdom they were only beginning to seek. Sarah's first days within the Comanche encampment were a profound immersion into a world utterly unlike her own. Each sunrise challenged her ingrained perceptions. The rhythms of tribal life, steeped in ancient wisdom, contrasted sharply with her ranch's solitude. She watched the women, efficient and skilled, preparing meals and crafting necessities. The children, curious and free-spirited, often observed her with wide eyes, their hesitant smiles offering brief connections amidst her apprehension. Cultural shock was immense. The language barrier was a formidable wall, making simple communication a struggle. She yearned for familiar sounds, a voice that spoke her tongue. Prejudices, both within her and directed at her, were palpable. Some tribal members viewed her with suspicion, an outsider representing the world that threatened their existence. Sarah wrestled with preconceived notions, fueled by sensational tales from her own society. It was a difficult internal battle, demanding conscious effort to see the humanity in those around her. Despite these challenges, subtle shifts began. Black Lotus, ever stoic, made small, almost imperceptible gestures. He ensured she had water during arid afternoons or quietly left game near her sleeping area. These weren't grand declarations, but quiet acts of provision, demonstrating a responsibility beyond a pact. His constant, protective presence became an unexpected anchor. These small acts slowly chipped away at the warrior's facade, revealing a quiet thoughtfulness that surprised her. Crucially, an elder woman named Wakia, whose eyes held the wisdom of countless seasons, took Sarah under her wing. Wakia, speaking no English, communicated through patient presence and warm glances. She taught Sarah practical skills, preparing simple meals, weaving, identifying edible plants. These lessons slowly grounded Sarah. Through Wakia's gentle guidance, Sarah began to learn the tribe's unwritten rules, the profound importance of community, and their deep spiritual connection to the land. Wakia's quiet wisdom guided her through initial isolation. As Sarah participated in daily routines, observing and learning, a new world unfolded. It wasn't the desolate landscape she had feared, but a vibrant, complex society rich with its own forms of wealth, tradition, resilience, and communal bonds. There was simple happiness by the communal fire, profound peace beneath the vast, open skies. The initial shock yielded to a burgeoning understanding. She discerned intricate social structures, respect for nature, and fierce tribal loyalty. Most significantly, her perception of Black Lotus transformed. He was no longer the imposing figure of their first encounter, the symbol of her lost freedom. She saw him tending horses gently, calmly discussing strategies with other men, even sharing rare, fleeting smiles with children. She witnessed his dedication to his people, his unwavering honor, and quiet strength. The man beneath the warrior emerged, complex and shaped by culture and responsibility. Her initial fear was replaced by a budding curiosity and nascent respect. She started to see his humanity, his burdens, and his unwavering commitment, realizing their destinies, initially forced, were slowly, irrevocably intertwining. They were learning from each other, gaining a wisdom that went beyond practical skills, delving into the very essence of human connection. The preconceived notions they held, born of ignorance and societal divides, crumbled with each shared experience. What emerged was the undeniable recognition of their shared humanity, a realization that regardless of their backgrounds, they were both striving for peace, survival, and a better future. It was in these trying times that the true potential for understanding and even happiness began to take root, subtly shifting the landscape of their lives and the destiny of Tombstone itself. As the days folded into weeks, and weeks into months, a quiet but profound transformation began to reshape the very foundations of the Pact forged in desperation. What had started as a cold, calculated agreement for survival, a heavy chain of obligation, subtly began to loosen, replaced by something far more intricate and enduring. It was no longer merely a matter of honor and fulfilling a promise or simply coexisting for the sake of their people. A deeper, more complex tapestry of feelings was being woven between Sarah and Black Lotus. The raw edges of their initial fear and skepticism had long since worn smooth, replaced by a growing understanding that transcended cultural divides and personal histories. They found themselves, almost without realizing it, moving past the definitions imposed upon them by the original agreement. The desperate promise of the past, once an unyielding decree, now felt like a distant echo, a faded blueprint for a structure that had since been rebuilt with different materials of shared experience, mutual respect, and an undeniable, quiet loyalty. They had faced dangers together, endured hardships side by side, and through it all, they had seen each other not as symbols of their respective worlds, but as individuals of strength, resilience, and unexpected kindness. This evolution led them to a crucial, internal turning point. Both Sarah and Black Lotus began to question, independently at first, then implicitly together, whether that initial, desperate vow still truly defined their present and future. Had they merely been bound by a promise, or had fate, through shared trials, gifted them a choice? The answer was not simple, tangled as it was with the threads of honor and destiny, yet it was undeniably emerging from within them. It was a conscious choice, no longer a forced one, that now beckoned. They recognized that the true wealth they were accumulating was not of land or livestock, but of shared wisdom and understanding, a richness of spirit that transcended material possessions. The quiet moments, the unspoken acknowledgments of mutual aid, and the shared burden of leadership had cultivated a fertile ground for something akin to happiness to cautiously take root. It wasn't the boisterous joy of carefree youth, but a profound, settled contentment found in knowing one was truly seen and valued. They had navigated a landscape of prejudice and fear, only to discover a profound humanity in each other, a shared core of hopes and anxieties that transcended their differing traditions. This newfound wisdom, born from adversity, illuminated a path forward where their new bonds, forged in fire and quiet perseverance, held far more weight and meaning than the fading echo of a desperate promise. The journey had been arduous, but it had led them to a place of unexpected connection, making them wonder what a future built on such a foundation could truly become. The clearing held its breath. Sarah and Black Lotus stood before their assembled communities, Tombstone ranchers on one side, the Comanche tribe on the other. This was the decisive moment, a crossroads where two worlds would define their shared future. They chose not to dissolve their union, but to elevate it, transforming a reluctant arrangement into a conscious, powerful partnership. This choice introduced a new kind of wealth for both communities, not material goods, but an invaluable promise for a stable, understanding future. It laid the groundwork for unexpected happiness, offering a tangible chance for their children to grow without constant conflict. The impact was immediate. Ranchers, witnessing Sarah's resolve and Black Lotus's honorable commitment, began shedding prejudices. The tribe, observing Black Lotus's devotion and Sarah's adaptation, recognized the possibility of a respectful alliance. This was when joy began to replace generations of fear, a profound sense of relief for those who yearned for peace. Through their shared journey, they acquired unique wisdom, a deep understanding that true strength lay not in dominance, but in courageous collaboration and empathy. Their actions that day, standing united, irrevocably shaped Tombstone's future. It marked the dawn of an era where bridges could finally be built across cultural canyons, because two individuals chose profound courage over comfort and enduring respect over ingrained resentment. Their unified front, their shared vision, became the foundation for a new, harmonious existence. Years turned into decades, and the tale of Sarah and Black Lotus ceased to be merely a personal journey, transforming into a cherished legend whispered across the rugged lands near Tombstone. It was a testament to the profound truth that deep understanding and true resilience could blossom even from the most unlikely and challenging origins. Their shared life, born from a desperate pact, evolved into a beacon of unity, illuminating a path forward for both settlers and tribal communities alike. Future generations, both Anglo and Comanche, grew up hearing the legend of Sarah, the rancher's daughter, and Black Lotus, the proud warrior, who chose connection over conflict. They learned invaluable wisdom from the legacy of those who dared to defy expectations and transcend the boundaries of their time. The initial pact, once a symbol of sacrifice and despair, was now remembered as the very seed from which a powerful and enduring bond grew. It was a bond that not only united two individuals but also bridged cultures, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape and the hearts of all who understood its significance. Their lives together became the ultimate proof that humanity's greatest strength lies in its capacity for empathy and its relentless pursuit of a better, more harmonious future, a timeless lesson on overcoming even the most formidable obstacles.